G'day guys, timer is on. Happy running. So I'm 22 episodes into the podcast now, just over 3 weeks, which is cool. It's all happened so fast, Seems like just yesterday I was starting my first episode. But yeah, thank you for everyone who has been listening. It's been really nice to see the numbers going up on the analytics for the podcast and a few more subscribers and views on YouTube as well. So I really appreciate that. And even if you are one of the silent listeners who doesn't ask any questions, that's fine. But consider you will get the most value out of it if I can give you specific information, and there are not that many people asking questions yet. So good time to jump on board, say hello, and let me know what you found helpful, what you'd like me to dive into deeper, what you'd like to explain in a different way, because everyone learns in slightly different ways, any specific questions to you. And the best place to do that is on the STEPN Injury Prevention Facebook group. So head on over there, ask me a question, just like Joseph Bowden has done here. So he's given me heaps of really good information about his background, and when it does come to physiotherapy, it is all that sort of background information about the sports you played growing up, and some past injuries, things like that are really important for online physiotherapy. So definitely appreciate all the information. I won't go through and read it all for everyone here, but good sort of background. If you are interested in online physiotherapy, that is something that I do as a service on my main business, which is called ADPT Physio. So if you go to adpt.physio as the website, you can actually book in an online session there if you're interested. So he's got a few different questions here. Some are about running shoes, and I definitely want to go into a bit more detail on running shoes. Well, I haven't really gone into too much detail at all yet, but this is not NFT shoes. This is real life shoes and all the different types. So that's something I'll do very soon, and it sounds like he's had these trainers for 4 years, so definitely could do with a bit of a refresh there for you, Joseph. But what I want to actually talk about is what he's talked about here, where he says he feels like he has quite strong legs, but his cardio is letting him down. He's talked a lot about in the previous paragraphs about how he's been getting kind of better and better at running, but now sort of plateaued, and he's getting some buckling and weak sort of feelings in his knees when he's running downhill. But he's saying he thinks that his legs are strong from having played football and flipping, so trampolining throughout his life, but it's the cardio that's letting him down. So I just wanted to dive into that because I think it is relevant for a lot of people listening, where I guess trying to diagnose what the sort of weak spots in the system are can be a bit tricky, and I think people's understanding of sort of what constitutes strength can be pretty variable. So I think with this situation with Joseph, where he's getting this feeling of feeling weak around the knees, and saying he's not actually buckling, but feeling a little weird, I think that's a really common thing for people, especially when you're starting to run downhill, because that is such a intensive thing on the body. It might seem like running downhill is going to be easier than running uphill, but for a lot of people it's the other way around. And when I did my marathon about how long ago was it now, 6 weeks ago, in Canberra, the nation's capital, there was a lot of up and down, but these long drawn out downhills, and that was really the killer for me. It's just, as I've talked about previously with eccentric contractions, so that's that lengthening under tension. When you are running downhill, you have loads more eccentric contraction, and then each step, because you've got sort of extra distance down and gravity involved, the impact forces are often much higher, and it is also harder to get sort of like that midfoot strike, and get that shock absorbing happening through your muscles, and ends up being a bit more jointy, and plenty of quad eccentric contraction, which can often leave you feeling really sore. So downhill's definitely hard work. Not to scare anyone off, and not to say that they're dangerous. Like we've talked a lot about before, how impact forces, the right dosage is, the stimulus you need to get stronger and condition your joints and muscles and bones. But also, again, it's all about dosage. So if you go too much too soon, that's where you can sort of run into issues. So I like here that Joseph has tried to find some downhills to try and make it easier to maintain the pace, but we really, really want to be careful with that and make sure you're conditioning yourself to those downhills. Now, he said that feels like his strength is pretty good from the previous sort of trampolining and football, but I just want to really highlight to people that strength training, where you're doing resistance training, is a very different type of strength than sort of previous like sport participation. In trampolining, okay, with that kind of flipping, you might be getting what would kind of be called strong legs. But if you're just playing sort of football and mostly sort of a kind of those cardio sport backgrounds, I wouldn't call that good strength, because when we're looking at the type of strength we need to build up really good resilience in your legs and around your joints, we do want to make sure that's coming from strength conditioning principles, where you're using the rep ranges that are appropriate to actually build up strength and muscle mass, also build up strength in the tendons, loading of the joints. So that has to come from that sort of resistance training parameters, which is going to be much lower volume than running along for 90 minutes playing football, or jumping on a trampoline. So just wanted to highlight, because I think a lot of people sort of have that feeling that if you've played sport that you have strength, but I just want to be really precise with the language and precise with the definition of what we're calling strength here. And if you're not already doing some kind of strength resistance training, then I would definitely recommend it. And particularly if you're feeling like you're sort of plateauing with your fitness, because as Joseph has said, he's he's been running for 15 days and he's kind of getting to the point now where he's doing 12.5 minutes every day with the 125% STEPN energy strategy. So, but he's getting to that and feeling pretty wiped out. So the ways that we can get better obviously are improving our fitness, but if you're feeling like you're getting that the legs feeling weak, that's a pretty good sign that if you can increase your leg strength, both through the neural adaptations we've talked about and the muscular hypertrophy, that will give you that resilience and ability to improve your speed, fitness, and resilience to running. So I just really wanted to highlight that, because I know a lot of people sort of undervalue the importance of strength and conditioning for injury prevention. So these kind of early warning signs of feeling like you're sort of struggling is a good sign to get stuck in. The other way that strength can be really helpful is that if you think about each, actually I've sort of talked about this in the previous one, and with the limited time, what I might do is sort of give a practical application of what you could be doing to improve that leg strength. So keeping it nice and simple, something like squats, where you're really focusing on that eccentric phase. So that's that lengthening under tension phase. So if you're going from a standing down to squat, and say you just go to 90 degrees, again, we don't need heaps of range of motion. Like, there's lots of arguments around should you squat ass to grass, as in where your hamstrings are touching your calves, or is it okay to go 90 degrees? I think if you've already got a lot of new stress from the running, don't want to then use range of motion as a really challenging variable. So just squatting down to 90 degrees, doing a nice slow eccentric, so taking 3 to 4 seconds to get down to that 90 degrees position, is a great way to start to condition yourself to that eccentric loading. And that's going to be great for building up strength, doing sort of, classic physio prescription of three sets of 10, every, maybe 3 times a week, with at least a day in between, is going to be the simplest no-brainer sort of stuff you can do to start giving you some of that eccentric tolerance in your quads, and that's going to help build up strength through and around the knees. So that's going to be the sort of easiest, simplest way to get started. But I know you're saying here that you don't think that cardio is more of the issue here, but I would really recommend, if you're not already doing something, then at least doing that. Other simple exercises you can do are going to be walking lunges, again looking at that that control of the eccentric contraction, so nice and slow on the way down. And there's plenty more exercises, and if people are interested, I could put together a strength program for runners, but haven't had too much enthusiasm for that yet. So let me know if you do want me to do that. Now there's the timer. So I guess this is like a less of a sort of direct topic for everyone listening to, but I think it's just a really good insight into where people's heads are often at when it comes to like what is the thing that they should be working on the most. And usually it's when you, if you think about all the factors involved in your body and your running. So if there's like easy cardio, like hard cardio, easy cardio, strength, like if there's one that you're not doing, it's usually if you can build up that weak point, that thing that you're not really doing, that will give you the most benefit. So you're doing plenty of running, and it sounds like you're running at a decent clip. Like this is kind of faster than you're used to running. So we don't want to keep adding in more and more speed work, otherwise we will just overload you. I think to build up the cardio, which I'll again talk about in more detail later, and I have talked about recently on the cross training episode as well, is trying to get some extra low level, so low intensity zone 2 cardio. So again, that's that intensity where you can maintain a conversation while you're doing it. So chucking some of that in would be a good idea, but I'd really recommend getting at least 2 to 3 strength sessions lower body wise in a week to start building up that strength, not only for your quads, but you talked about the Achilles pain, which fortunately some of my information has helped you with so far. So that's where I'd be looking. And again, I'd love to hear from people if you guys are interested in a at home or in the gym strength conditioning program for runners. All right, I will finish up there, and I'll jump into specific advice around, or just like information about running shoes, because it's an absolute minefield of lots of marketing and lots of different conflicting information. So I'll get into that one soon. And otherwise, be like Joseph. I really appreciate his question and the support. So jump on the STEPN Injury Prevention Facebook group, or if you're watching on YouTube, ask a question. Love to get your feedback, and love to get the topics that you are interested in. Nice one. See you guys tomorrow.